There we go. Welcome to episode 60 of Quark's Insights. And season 3, I think I called it because we're out on vacation. George, your resolution just dropped. Did you lose connection?
I don't think so.
There we go. But anyway, we are back. Been gone for a month, actually. Last Monday we were supposed to be here, but Paul, who was supposed to be on, unfortunately got COVID. But he should be recovering and hopefully getting on board again. But yeah, that's why we got a little bit delayed.
So I didn't miss any shows?
No, it's been
Oh, wow.
all good. I was out for 3 weeks. I missed the Santa one. But otherwise, yeah, it's been quiet. But then, yeah. So this is
So
the premiere of season 3 of Quarkus Insights. So anyway, for those who haven't tried before, we are normally just here talking about some a bit news in our Quarkus, and then have someone be interviewing for whatever topic. This week it's Alexey, who's talking about platforms. We'll talk about 2 seconds, and then we have news. But this again, it's been vacation time, so it's a bit quiet. Quarkus 213 was out, bug fixes, and we have the 22 CR1. Which is we've kind of the 2.2. We've been kind of focusing on hardening things. There's a lot of stuff adding in 2.1 and in 2.0 and up to it. So 2.2 is combined like, okay, let's just make sure everything is solid as we can. And that's gonna go GA, and is it next week? I lost time.
Yeah, me too.
So GA core GA is next week, and the platform is end of month.
Got it. And Stefan talked about Rammstein. I'm not sure why.
But because I'm wearing a Rammstein shirt.
That's why. Now I see it. Okay. But anyway, I'll just give a quick a hint about what Alexey is talking about, but he will talk about the main thing. And for those who are listening, just ask questions in chat, and we will inject them. But for those who, again, just remind you what Quarkus is, this nice little framework, and one of the things we have is called Quarkus.io. And if you haven't noticed, like we had done a few changes over the summer, but one thing we did that might not have gone on in notes by all is that instead of a specific version, we have we now say 2.1, and then there is a specific version in the upper left here. But that's the thing we've changed. We've changed to this notion of platforms because in a very near future, we will add to Quarkus so you can generate for more than one version. Right now, it's always the latest greatest, which is great because we want people to upgrade, etc. But there are times where sometimes you might be a little bit behind, and then as the ecosystem grows, there'll be more and more differences, and therefore they won't add up. So that's one thing that what we're doing here is adding the multiple platform thing. But I'm sure Alexey will talk more about it. But in the shorter sense, is the platform is this list of the extensions that works together, and until now we always just had the latest greatest on Quarkus. But Alexey will talk much more about that, I'm sure. Anyway, I just wanted to show that we got that little like graphics. It's very subtle, but
yeah, I had never seen it, to be honest.
So anyway, Alexey, the stage is yours.
Hey, thanks. Okay, well, first of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Alexey Loubyansky. I work for Red Hat in the Quarkus team. I've worked for Red Hat for like, how much? Like 17 years now. Well, I came from JBoss, right? So we joined Red Hat a bit later, but anyway, the official time counts from the JBoss. Yeah, so I've been working on in JBoss. I've been working on various parts of the application servers, mostly in EGBs, persistence, provisioning, patching, and so on. And I joined Quarkus team in, I think, 2018. And in Quarkus, I'm not specializing on any specific extension. I'm working on, well, I could probably say some core parts of Quarkus as a build framework. All right, and a part of that is related to extension dependency model, dependency management, resolution, class path, and so on. So I've done a lot of work on the so-called platform, and I think that it would be a good idea to begin with and explaining what a platform is. So there is a notion of a Quarkus extension ecosystem, and there is a notion of a platform. And it's important for Quarkus users to understand what the difference is, because there is one. So when we're talking about a Quarkus extension ecosystem, we could say that it consists of all the Quarkus extensions ever developed by the Quarkus core team or other organizations or individual users and so on, right? So we just, by the way, another term for the Quarkus ecosystem, sometimes we refer to it as Quarkiverse. Basically, it's a product of Quarkus and universe, so a universe of Quarkus extensions. So yes, it includes all the extensions ever developed by various teams. So now, as a user, if I'm developing an application and I want to include, obviously, I want to select some Quarkus extensions. If they're developed by different teams with different, ideas in mind and different requirements, different release schedules, right? How do I know that extensions that I select will actually work, so they don't conflict, right? That's an important question. And generally speaking, if I select extensions from the ecosystem, I will not know if they conflict or not until I actually try to build the project. Then I will know. But if now imagine that there is a team who is developing Quarkus, right? And we want to deliver a good user experience. And we want to make sure that extensions, at least the extensions that cover the primary use cases of Quarkus, always work together. That makes sense, right? So if you're developing a typical application for the cloud, including REST and other technologies that are like primary technologies, you should not worry about including them in the project. You should be confident that they will work together. So just to make sure that we have this kind of quality, we came up with the notion of a platform. So a platform is a subset of the Quarkus ecosystem. It's a subset of extensions from the Quarkus ecosystem that are guaranteed to work together. So you can take any combination of the extensions from the platform, and they will work together. You can still pick extensions for your project that are outside of the platform, and it may work, but we do not guarantee. We have some means and features that allow us to have a good chance that they will work, right? So we check whether the Quarkus version matches, for example, and so on. I will show it to you a bit later. But basically, in general, we cannot guarantee that any combination of extensions from the ecosystem outside of the platform that we test and release will actually work. Okay, so the changes in the, I would say even in DevTools, not even the platform, but just in general in DevTools in Quarkus 2.x are pretty significant. So originally, when Quarkus project started, the whole ecosystem and the platform would be just in the same Quarkus repository, right? The Quarkus core, the Quarkus BOM, right? That would represent the whole ecosystem and platform at the same time in the same repository. And of course, Quarkus was becoming more and more popular. We received a lot more contributions, people with different ideas. So we started to think the Quarkus repository started to grow, And today, if I look at it today, it contains slightly less than 1,000 modules. So imagine that. So it's not really scalable to keep adding extensions to the Quarkus core repository.
Mine is also test, right?
A test?
It's not like
Sorry.
We don't have 1,000 extensions. We have.
Oh yeah, it's not. Yeah. No, it's right. So it's tests, but yeah. Anyway, you have to have tests, right? So in a project, sure. it will explode anyway. So yeah, at some point we started to think about how we can have a better model, right? More scalable model. So we started to extract the notion of a platform from core, and we basically came up with a Quarkus platform repository, which is an integration point for extensions that we see fulfilling the primary purpose of Quarkus, right? And it's a separate repository, and you can find extensions that it's not only us who are developing platform extensions. There are extensions from for example, DataStax or Hazelcast or other community members that provide support for Google Cloud services and so on. Okay, so that was the first phase of the evolution. We started to integrate more extensions that are not only residing in the core repository, but then people were starting to ask how we can contribute extensions. So if you go on the website on codequarkus.io, you see a list of extensions that we kind of support and promote that you can select for a project. And people were starting asking questions how we can add our own extensions so they're discoverable for other community members. And we cannot really put them all in the platform just for a simple reason. We have to be selective because you cannot have a compatible set of extensions across the universe, right? There are some extensions that simply cannot work together for various reasons. So we as platform maintainers, we have some vision for what it should include, and we also guarantee quality, right? So if extensions that we include in the platform, they must be supersonic, subatomic, and they have to work in native mode. Right? So this is another quality characteristic of the platform, that it's not only they are all compatible, but they are also carrying the Quarkus qualities. Yes, and so in Quarkus 2.x, we enhanced the dev tools to not only list extensions that are part of the Quarkus platform that we maintain, but we allow extensions developed outside of the platform by all the community members to be listed and selected when people are creating projects or adding extensions to their projects using the Quarkus dev tools. All right, so let me actually show you how it works. So Max, I need to share my screen now. Okay.
There we go.
Yes. So, by the way, I will be using the CLI, Quarkus CLI, which is also kind of new in Quarkus 2.x as a demo tool. Right. So it's basically its equivalent. It is behind the scenes. It's using the same code that Quarkus.io is using to generate a project, but it's just a different user interface. So to create a project using the Quarkus CLI, I would do something like this: Quarkus create, and that's it. And it generates the default project. If I look at the POM file, this is how it looks like. It includes only the REST-easy extension. So Arc is kind of redundant because REST-easy depends on it, so I can just remove it. And then there is the import of the platform BOM. And if you are not new, if you have used Quarkus 1.x before, you will notice switching to Quarkus 2.1 that the BOM that we are importing here is not the Quarkus universe BOM anymore, but it is actually Quarkus BOM. Okay? But the group ID also changed. It's Quarkus IO Quarkus platform. It's not IO Quarkus anymore. And this is a kind of a big change in Quarkus 2.x in a sense of the platform coordinates and how it's changed. So content-wise, Quarkus BOM is a lot smaller than the universe BOM. But, well, the question is, where do the rest of the extension go? The thing is that they're still in the platform, but in Quarkus 2, a platform release includes not a single Quarkus universe BOM, but multiple BOMs. So I can actually just show it to you how it looked like just to compare. So I could create a project with Stream 2.0 in which we still use the universe BOM. If I look here, this is the kind of legacy project config, IO Quarkus, Quarkus universe BOM. Okay, and if I add an extension here, with the Quarkus Cli, it will look like this. Extension add Cogito Quarkus rule. So I'm adding a Cogito extension to my project.
I might just add that for now, the universe BOM is still published.
Yeah, so just for maintenance. Yeah.
But yeah, recommend to move to the new one. But yeah.
Yes. So having the universe BOM in the project and adding an extension, which is well, I chose a Cogito extension. As you can see, the extension is here. It's managed by the BOM, so it does not include any version. But I still have the universe BOM import because the universe BOM manages. It also includes the Cogito and Camel and all the rest of the platform. But if I create a project, I'll use the latest recommended, which is 2.1.3, right? Where there is no universe BOM anymore. If I add a Cogito extension, I use the same command. What happens here? So the Cogito extension is added in the same way, but now I see a different BOM here. So the Quarkus BOM is still in here, but I also see Quarkus Cogito BOM import because the Cogito extension is not present in the Quarkus BOM that was originally included in my project. So this BOM basically is a fragment of the platform release that manages the Cogito extensions. Basically, it provides all the dependency versions constraints for Cogito. Right? Why did we do this? So the universe BOM is kind of nice because it's a single import. It includes everything. Well, yeah, but it's not scalable. It's not scalable in a sense that the platform BOM is the whole platform, Quarkus platform, is pretty diverse. So it includes the universe BOM includes like 3,600, probably more, dependency constraints. And when I import this BOM, it doesn't matter whether it's Maven or Gradle, by the way. When I import the platform BOM, the universe one, it enforces all the dependency constraints on my application. So even if I'm not using, for example, Camel, and Camel is a good example because Camel is particularly huge. So Camel alone includes more than 300 extensions and all the constraints that come with that. So if I'm not using Camel extensions and import the universe BOM, all the Camel constraints are still enforced on my application and the dependencies of my application. So that could be a problem. So if I'm using a library or something, or a Quarkus extension which is not part of the platform, and that library or Quarkus extension has a common dependency with Camel, but a different version, apparently the Camel dependency constraints will be the effective constraints in my application. So they will override the original version of that common library that is used in my application by Camel, effectively, right? So even if I'm not using any Camel extension. And that could be okay if the version is still compatible, if the library is still compatible with Camel. But what if it's not? The build will fail, right? And in that case, I would have to adjust my POM just to make it compatible with Camel in the platform, even if I'm not using Camel. And that could be easy or not. It depends, right? So just to avoid this situation, because the Quarkus platform keeps growing and the Quarkiverse keeps growing, and it's just a matter of time when we start seeing these conflicts and just to have some kind of answer to them, we decided to take the universe bomb, and split it into fragments. And those fragments are, let's say, Quarkus member specific, right? So actually, now a platform release, if I can actually show you what's the, maybe I'll make it bigger. So the Quarkus 2.1 release, maybe I can make it even bigger. Oh, that's too much.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's good. So you can see that the 2.1.3 final release, instead of recommending the universe bomb, we are going to recommend the list of these bombs. And all these bombs combined, they actually form the universe bomb. So every bomb is listed here is a fragment of the universe bomb. So all these bombs could be imported in user applications, and the order in which they're imported actually doesn't matter because they're fragments of the whole globally aligned set, which is the universe bomb. And that is the main change in the platform in Quarkus 2.x.
Yeah, and this by so a few comments here. Like one, it's not like we have to it will outgrow in the future. Like it's already happened. Like we had cases in Camel where they had dependency extension that was just inherently incompatible with other stuff inside us, which we can't do much about. So they have to live outside the platform. But yeah, it will definitely happen. But yeah, this has also been a very discussion back and forth of like why should we drop the universe because it's nice and simple. Well, I still think it's nice and simple, but it's just it adds a very like as Alexey was saying, like if you are using just a few extensions from Quarkus core and another you have a dependency on some library that is useful for you in your specific context, you might be prevented from easily using it with Quarkus just because Camel had some other specific stuff. So we wanted to avoid that. That's why we had done the split up. And so this is, but the good thing is that a lot of the stuff doesn't actually, you don't have to realize this. If you don't use Camel or Cogito or this, this works as before. It's just the Quarkus Camel bomb has changed. And then we have the CLI, as Alexey showed, to do the thinking for you, basically. And there's actually a question here, which I actually don't know the answer to yet, from Chicken Little, of all people, who says, how do you make this bomb import work automatically in VS Code instead of using the CLI? Or is it recommended to use this Quarkus CLI? I haven't actually checked if the VS, well, actually, you want to answer it?
Oh, you go ahead. I can expand.
Okay. So first of all, is the Quarkus CLI recommended? Yes, we do actually want you guys to use the CLI more because it's much simpler compared to using Maven or the Maven plugin or an IDE. But if the VS Code doesn't do this already, I actually think it does. If you create a product with VS Code now, it should go and use the latest with 2.1. It'll be using the Quarkus platform. The question comes when you add an extension. It should too, but I haven't actually tested because this actually came out while I'm on vacation. So I don't actually, I have no, if I say you've tried it. But the theory is that all the tools are using the same APIs. Therefore, this should actually just work. If it doesn't do right now, it's a bug, basically. So that's great. Yeah.
Right. So basically, all the IDEs, so they are using Quarkus as the REST endpoint and REST API to create projects, to list extensions, and to create projects. And Quarkus is basically using this mechanism to create a project with the multiple BOM imports if they are necessary, right? They might not be necessary, but for example, I just went to Quarkus, and I can do the same what I did with the CLI. So I can select the Cogito rules extension and generate the project. And now I download the zip. And if I open the POM file, now let me try. Yeah. So you can see this is what it generated. Exactly the same POM file, and that's Quarkus, right? And Quarkus is provides the REST API for the IDEs. So if the IDE has integration with Quarkus, code.quarkus, it will automatically be generating the POM files with the proper POM imports. BOM imports.
And now that I thought about it, like, so the next level is if you add extensions after it's been created, then you're not using code Quarkus, but then the VS Code at least is going to use the plugin, either the Gradle plugin or the Maven plugin, which also is set up to do this magic here.
Yeah. So basically, yes, if you follow our docs, that still recommend the use of the Maven plugin to create a project, which I think we should change soon. In favor of the CLI. So if you use the Maven plugin, it will basically generate the same thing. Another thing that you may notice in Quarkus.2, in the projects, we previously had separate versions for the plugin, Quarkus plugin, and the BOM import, right? So you would have Quarkus platform version, and then you would have another property, Quarkus plugin version, I think, right? So if you generate a project for 2.x, you will see that they're actually aligned. There is no Quarkus plugin version here, because we know that users usually do. They just create a single property, Quarkus version, and then they reuse it for the BOMs and the plugin. So in 2.x, we are doing it right from the start, basically. If I go to the plugin config, I will see that it is using the Quarkus platform version. So when you need to upgrade to a new Quarkus version, you change one property now, and that's Quarkus platform version.
Yeah, if you're using Maven. In Gradle, we can't align this way, so there for the player. And by the way, and this is something that's very important. Like now, Alexey and us, we explaining fairly low level detail. What's it called? Like fairly detailed how this works. But ultimately, this is very similar to what was in the past. It's just a slight change of having multiple BOMs over one, and you like. I just want to make people don't think that this is like complicated. You have to use the CLI, have to use the IDE. This is all like standard Maven Gradle dependency.
That's the most important thing. That at the end of the day, for the user, it's just like instead of one huge BOM, you have smaller BOMs, right?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
And that means that before you just got everything, and you can always kind of paste in the dependency, and all is fine. You will still do that for like 80% of extensions, but for the other 20, you will have to, if you don't use CLI, you'll have to go and what BOM is that from? Which it's not normal. Like that is normal to do in any other like framework where there's a lot of things in there. So it's just there's a lot of people who, when we started doing this, it's like, oh, this is going to be complicated. Like this is nothing. It's like an inherent limitation of Java's dependency management. It gets complicated, but it's not. Right? It's just a fact of life, basically. But we've been very careful not making it too complicated, because we could also go in the full extreme of saying, hey, one BOM is too limited. Now we have 10, but those 10 might be too limiting. So ultimately, if you have complete freedom, you would have one BOM per extension. But that'll be, easy to remember, but it'll be some very long POM XMLs or Gradle build Gradles we'll end up with. So we try to find a balance here on this stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, maybe I will mention just another thing about the bombs. So introducing multiple bombs, more than one at least, right, could lead to a situation. Let me just figure out what I have here. Okay. So yeah, okay, this looks good. So of course I have this project, so I can actually build it. So if I build it, I will just call build directly instead of package, just to make sure that it builds. Okay. So theoretically, I was using the tools, right? So the tools generated me a POM file which works. But if I'm not using tools, because a lot of developers are not really using any tools, they prefer writing custom POM files and so on. And now if you write a custom POM file, if you have more than one import, theoretically, it could happen that you will use a different version of some BOM, right? So if I choose for Cogito 2.1.2 final release, okay? So my Quarkus POM is 2.1.3, but for some reason I was writing POM file manually and I did this mistake or not, I don't know. But if I try to build it now, it should fail actually. So let's see. Yes. So it fails, and it's saying that some of the imported Quarkus platform BOMs belong to different platform releases, right? So there is 2.1.3 release, a BOM from 2.1.3, and there is a BOM from 2.1.2. They're different releases of the same platform. So our tools are able to detect this fact and report it. And it even suggests what you should do to align them. So either you keep Quarkus BOM at this version and upgrade the Cogito BOM, or you keep the Cogito BOM and you downgrade the Quarkus BOM. By default, it fails. Why we chose? Well, why I chose for it to fail? Because I think that basically these BOMs, they represent a fragment of a platform, right? It's globally aligned constraints that we tested. Right? So this combination is not tested, and it's not guaranteed that it will work, which is why it fails. There is a config option that will, if you insist, for example, because it may work. Chances are this combination is still compatible. You can still make it work. There is a property. I'll try to find it. But, it's a bootstrap config. Right. It has three options. Now, if I build it with the Quarkus bootstrap misaligned platform imports. If I say misaligned platform imports, I say I want to be warned instead of failing. It should just turn that message into a warning, right? So it succeeded, but I have a warning about that, or I can just ignore it completely. Then we'll just silently build it. So, and just also maybe for your information, in my case, so as you can see, it built successfully. My POM file lists all the platforms. And actually, the way we are detecting this case, it doesn't really matter if the BOM imports are directly in the POM that I'm building. So if you have a company BOM which imports Quarkus platform, and then it's flattened, and then there is another build parent. So it's not directly, this BOM import is not directly in your application. Our tools will still figure it out. So it's 100% reliable. It's not based on reading the POM file and checking for scope import and then comparing versions or something like this. So it's a little bit more complicated, but it's 100% reliable. It detects the platform releases, it chunks, compares whether they're compatible. If they're not, it fails.
And this is just to be this is something that's an add. Well, you can say it's an add-on on top of Maven and Gradle's dependency reduction mechanism. But what's nice is that Quarkus, because it has this built time phase where it's doing its thing, we've added metadata to the platform to detect these kind of things. And in the future, we'll also do like stuff like updates and verifications, but we can it gives a nice add-on that we can help people to make sure that they don't end up with a set of dependency that definitely doesn't work. Or rather, we can say, if you do this, it has a very, very high likelihood of working. I guess that's what we can. You can always fail.
Yeah. So now I want to demo another feature. So as Max showed you before at the very beginning, on Quarkus we have this 2.1 thing, stream, right? So that means that if you generate a project on quarkus.io, you would get a latest version of 2.1 generated, right? So based on platform 2.1, the latest version, latest recommended. In CLI, we actually have the CLI is actually a little bit different in this regard. So if I create a project as I showed you before, right? So Quarkus Cli, it will generate a project for 2.1 because 2.1 final is the latest recommended version. But there are actually options in the CLI. We will also have some option on Quarkus later, but in the CLI at this point, you can actually choose the stream. And if I want, by the way, we have released 2.2 CR1, right? So if you want to change, to test your application prior to Quarkus 2.2 final release, you can upgrade to 2.2 CR1. And if I want to create a project for 2.2, I would do it with this argument, -s stream 2.2. Oh, and I misspelled Quarkus. Okay. So now if I look at my project, I will see that the platform version is 2.20 CR1. So it's not the recommended by default version, but using the CLI, you have an option. You can do this. So that's one thing, one of the features. Another feature of the CLI, and it's slightly different than what Quarkus does. What CLI does, when you want to create a project, the CLI is trying to recommend you the latest compatible version for the extensions that you want to have in your project. So to demonstrate this, before I would use a single extension that was present, right? So if I try to locate like this stuff, right? So I could create a project with Cogito create X. So this will create a project that we've seen before based on 2.1.3 final, including Cogito extension with the Cogito BOM, Cogito Quarkus rules. Okay. But now imagine that you want to create a project and you have a few extensions in mind that you want to import, but you don't know, perhaps one extension exists or is compatible with one Quarkus version. Another extension is not compatible with that, right? So there could be still, you may need to figure out what is the common Quarkus version for the extensions that you want to have in your project. So the CLI actually helps in this case. So just before the demo, I tried to search for examples of such extensions, and here's what I found. So there is a Quarkus Open Telemetry REST client.
Very tiny.
Yeah, well, no, that just doesn't matter. It's just for me to copy.
Sure.
So
okay.
if I want to use this extension in a project, I want to create a project using this extension. If I do this, the CLI will go and look for this extension in a Quarkus platform, which is the latest recommended. Okay, and apparently for this extension, it will be 2.0.3. So the latest recommended one is actually 2.1.3, but this extension is not present in that platform. So the CLI searched in Quarkus platform releases that contain this extension and recommended you the latest one that includes it. And it happens to be 2.0.3. So this extension was probably deprecated if it's not present in later versions. And there's another example. I found that Quarkus Narayana LRA, if I create a project with this extension, the version of the platform will be 2.20CR1 because it got introduced into the platform in this version, right? So if I don't specify the version or anything, the default recommended is 2.1.3. So this is the feature of the CLI. So you can provide not just one extension, you can provide 5 or 10 or I don't know how many extensions. And the CLI will try and figure out the common version, the latest common version that works for all the extensions that you specified. And this will also be the feature, for example, we still don't have the Quarkus update command, meaning you have an existing project and you want to update to the latest version that is compatible for your project, right, with all your extensions. So this feature is actually allows us to, at any point in time, take any project containing all those extensions that you selected at some point, and we can run a check for update, perform a check for update to see what is the latest version that could be recommended as an update for your project and all your extensions. Right? So that's the basic feature.
Yeah, and just to add to that, again, this is I was trying to say before with the multiple versions. It's not because you want people to stay behind. All this is actually make sure people can move forward easily. So, and it's just we've heard a few people saying, well, we don't upgrade because we don't know what versions or we think there's a lot of stuff to do. And with this, it's just kind of once we have, well, you can do it now today manually and just upgrade. The tool will tell you if you add a combination that doesn't work. But going forward, we want to have that update functionality so you can literally just every week something does go just do the Quarkus update and we will get you to the latest that should work with that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, we have a good question.
Very good question. So
Yeah.
let's do it.
If we specify Latanya, Lara, and up to what will
Yes.
look like?
Let's
That
just
will
do that.
be error, right? Well,
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Let's see how that.
No, it actually created a problem. Let me check. Did I specify everything? Oh, yeah, I specified it twice.
twice.
Well, yeah, well, of course, that's a good test. It should probably actually, I don't know. Well, anyway, it's just a set. Okay, so now you see the error is failed to determine a compatible Quarkus version for the requested extensions, the OpenTelemetry and Quarkus Narayan. So
Excellent.
yeah, it's still the basic message because we could just also indicate, I don't know, it gets complicated if we would try to indicate which versions everyone prefers. Because the thing is, I recently looked at the test case from the IDE project, and they had a test where they would take all the extensions from the catalog and just create a project containing all those extensions. And it would fail because it would contain incompatible extensions, but this kind of error message for a huge list of extensions is pretty, you don't know what really happened, basically. So you know they're incompatible, but you don't know which one, it's not very detailed. But anyway, that's a start, right? At least it does not generate a project which is not going to build. Okay. That's the idea. Okay, so far I've been showing you, and we've been talking about the platform, and I mentioned that we also have support for non-platform extensions. Okay, so let's see how that works. So typically, we have a good place now to host extensions that are contributed by various community members, and it's called Quarkverse Hub. So in case somebody has an idea of contributing an extension and is looking for a place to host it somewhere, instead of just creating your own organization, hosting it on GitHub, you could just consider Quarkverse organization. Basically, there are quite a lot of extensions already, as you can see, Quarkus extensions, and here we provide some nice features such as automatic CI with the latest Quarkus version and even main branch. So you can see whether your extension is compatible with the latest changes in the Quarkus. We provide docs publishing features and also easy registration of your extension in the catalogs that the dev tools will be displaying, like Code Quarkus and the CLI and the IDEs. That basically makes it easy for your extension to be discovered by the rest of the community. Right? So that's just for your information. So we have all these extensions here. And now in Quarkus 2.x, finally, we can actually see them and use them in projects. So
yeah, I think it's important to say that before you could use them, but you had to manually add them, right?
Right.
Yeah, and they didn't show up in any lists, right? That for me, that was the most important thing, that they didn't show up in any lists.
Right. They're not discoverable, right? So we would limit our scope for the list of extensions to the platform that we promote, and everything else was just being, behind the scenes blind. You would have to know, first of all, that's actually a very good point. You would have to know which version of an extension that is compatible with the platform you are adding it to, right? So if you have a project using Quarkus version, then you would need to know which version of the extension which is not in the platform is compatible with the Quarkus platform that your project is based on. Now it is supposed to be automatically, right? So if happening automatically, also the tools should be selecting the right version of non-platform extensions for the project. So now I could create, again, I could take as an example the famous CXF extension. Why not CXF? So I'm creating a new project, including a CXF extension, which is not a part of the Quarkus platform at this point. If I look at my POM file, there is a Quarkus POM import, and if I scroll down, I can see that there is IO Quarkus CXF extension version 09. Right? So it means that this extension, if you see a version, it's not managed by the POM. It's not in the platform. So it's a non-platform extensions that the CLI knows about now in 2.x. Okay, so that's kind of a new feature, and it also when the CLI but actually any dev tool, so Code Quarkus and IDEs, they support the same features, right? So when you request an extension which is not in the platform, what happens is the tools start to look for this extension. They know the recommended version of the platform, and they know that they need to find this kind of extension. So they are looking for the latest compatible combination. So the latest platform release and the latest release of the non-platform extension, and suggest you the version, right? So basically, that was what I was showing you with the previous telemetry and Narayana, where you saw that it was actually suggesting the version that actually works, which might not be the recommended by default. So in this case, basically the same happens in this case. We know that this is your requirement. When you say install CXF, we take it as a requirement. You must have it. If that's what you expressed and we cannot satisfy your requirement, that's an error. right? So we're doing everything to find the platform version that will be compatible with this non-platform extension now. There is a question I can see. So we are not taking into account the Java version at this point. That's a good question. So no, we're not. We are for now we are limited. We are limiting the compatibility check to the Quarkus version only. Quarkus core, more specifically, because every platform is based on Quarkus core. So this is what's common, right? So, and I also want to remind you that we do this check, right? We are basically selecting the common Quarkus core version. So we cannot still guarantee that this extension will work, is compatible with the platform, because we didn't run any tests, right? For the platform, we can guarantee because we run all the tests and we release the platform. We know that's fully compatible, great quality, and so on. We don't know what the compatibility requirements for this specific extension and whether it's actually compatible with other libraries used in your project. But what we are checking is the Quarkus core version. Perhaps, and yeah, possibly, this compatibility check will evolve in the future to be more, well, let's say, more reliable in every sense of this word. But for now, this is the basics.
And you're also saying like as right now the CLI does it. Quarkus and other these doesn't do it right now, but they will over time. That's the intent of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Quarkus is limited to the platform, right? Yeah, for now, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Alexey?
Well, yeah, I could. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, for now, I could say that the information, where does this information comes from? So how do the tools know about the Quarkiverse, about the platforms where, various versions and stuff? So we in 2.x, we introduced the notion of a Quarkus extension registry. And registry is a service that provides all this information to the dev tools. And there is the default Quarkus community registry that provides information about all the Quarkus platforms and all the non-platform extensions, right? Extensions that are not part of the platform. And DevTools can query the registry and finally create a project. So registry is kind of it's a service, and when the DevTools DevTools actually also have a local cache, which by default is updated daily. Right? So once a day, on the first command that you execute, DevTools will refresh the relevant catalogs for your projects and will be up to date, because Quarkiverse is a dynamic thing. So if a platform release, if you are using a platform release, well, it's kind of static. Nothing changes. It's a release, right? But the Quarkiverse, there could be a new extension that is compatible with the Quarkus version that you use in your project. So when you execute list, you may have more extensions tomorrow than you see them today, because new extensions became available that are compatible with your project. So that's the point of running an update. But this is the default registry, but we also allow other organizations to create their own Quarkus registries. It's well possible. So if there is an organization that wants to provide another Quarkus platform, which has maybe some different use cases for Quarkus, and still they want to provide their platform or non-platform extensions and maintain them, it would be possible to configure the dev tools to use another company's Quarkus platform, and would basically be expressed. So I can show my local config YAML here. No, I did something wrong. I need to rename it. So this is just an example. In my home directory, I have .quarkus config YAML, and this is the file that the dev tools are looking for. It's not required. It's just in my environment. I'm using it for various tests. But community users typically will not even need this file at all. But what this file allows you to do, it allows you to configure multiple registries. So in this case, the registry quarkus.io is the default Quarkus community registry that provides all the information about extensions and platforms. But you could have additional one. Well, I work for Red Hat, so I was doing experiments with a Red Hat Quarkus platform, and it's a kind of custom config for it. But this is how it would be looking for. So we could have more registries here, providing information about platforms and non-platform extensions. And then if I list more registries and they are available, the catalog displayed for the users will actually include extensions from all the registries combined together. And you can create projects or add extensions to your projects that are provided by different registries. So that's another feature. It's a little bit more advanced, and probably you will not need it in the near future, but just to give you an idea what we're doing and what's going on from the business.
Yeah, so basically this feature is, if anyone uses the productized Red Hat version, that will be one that they will see it. And then we know there's a company, one or two companies who made their own platforms. They could use this to they could say, hey, remove the community and just have this, the acme.org or com registry. And then any Quarkus crate or whatever that their user uses will be just the one that they recommend. So up to them how they will do. Okay, Georges, you've been so quiet all day. Have you had any questions?
Well, I was gonna mention that. Well, before Alexey mentioned the registries, that was what I was gonna ask about. Like, because I'm sure there are companies out there who have like certain standards, like you can't use this or you can't use that. So I'm assuming that this would apply to them, right? They could create their own catalog with their like vetted extensions, and then the developers in that organization could go ahead and use that, right?
Yeah,
that's
correct. Yeah.
I just make it clear that the software is open source, but it's not like it's not like user friendly to do so. But yeah, the whole architecture is done for the idea that this can happen over time. And if people want to look at code, they can do it now if they want to. So yeah, that's the idea. But the main use case is for us to make sure that the community and the productized and other just can coexist. Like there's a lot of frameworks out there that assumes that they're the community version is the only existing one, and we know that's just not reality. So we kind of wanted the infrastructure to be aware of these slight differences. So that's it. Okay. Well, we are on the 4 o'clock hour. We don't have more questions. So, thank you, Alexey. And this was episode 60 on the start of season 3. And next week is Aaron is coming back to talk about, I think, the top 10 mistakes of microservices or something. Also good things. I forget. One of the two will be. So, yeah. See you next week. And, yeah, thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Great.